The sport fishing trip is brought to you by Poseidon Sport Fishing Tackles in Chara, Chennai. In session 1, we went through the tackle basics, how to choose a tackle. In this session, we'll be covering the other aspects of soft plastic fishing. So first, we'll go into the leader, what leader length to use and what kind of leader to use. Like I said in part 1, the best leader would be to use a fluorocarbon leader because the refractive index is equal to the water's refractive index, so the fishes are not going to see the line. So you could go with different brands of leaders that's available in the market. There's Shimano, Berkeley, Sufix, there's Mustad and different brands, so you can choose the brand that you want. Also with the clips, like I mentioned, try and use the smallest clip that you would can actually go with. And we can use as clips, or like I said, the best way would be to just use a solid ring and a small split ring and use a split ring plier and put the soft plastics on. Now just going into the leader length and what pound leader to use. It actually depends on the area that you're fishing in. For instance, if you're fishing a rocky area, you'll have to use a little heavier leader and a bit longer leader. And probably the best knot to use for longer leaders would be to use an FG knot, so that way you can still cast without damaging those guides. So probably I would use anything between 2 to 3 meters of leader for the rocky areas. If I'm fishing less rocky areas, I would use probably something lesser than the rod's length, and I can get away with a double uni knot, which is still a good knot to use. But I would keep it a bit shorter than the rod, so when I'm actually winding the soft plastic in, so the knot is not going to go through those guides and damage those guides. Now just going into the what pound of leader to use. Again, it depends on the area that you're fishing in. Probably if I'm fishing a less rocky area, I can get away with 20 to 30 pound leader. The lighter leader that you use, the better, because the soft plastics action is going to look more natural in the water and it's not going to compromise the action. So, but there are instances when you have to use heavier leader. For example, the rocky areas, you can use 60 or 80 pound leader, but it's kind of going to compromise the action of the soft plastics. So you can either do that, or you can go with a shorter length of the actual leader in itself. So I would be using a shorter length of an 80 pound leader, so that way the action is not going to be compromised that much. But the downside is I could end up losing the fish to the rocks. In those instances, you can keep a little bit of tighter drag, so that way you can actually pull the fish in before it gets into the rocks. Now going into the different kinds of soft plastics. So there are different kinds of soft plastics available in the market. You get the shad type soft plastics, then you get the paddle tail soft plastics, you get those grubs or the wiggly tail as they call, and you get the pre-rigged soft plastics as well. And also these days you get soft plastics with a lip. So it's got a diving lip, so you can spin these soft plastics and it'll actually dive into the water. So what soft plastics I use depends on the water condition. So for instance, if the water is a little bit calm, I could probably use these shads and just work them through the water, so it's still kind of visible. Or I could go with the paddle tail if the water is a little bit rough. So what the paddle tail has got, it's got more vibration. The tail is actually going to wiggle. It's going to create more vibration and it's going to attract the fish. Or you could go with the grubs or the wiggly tail. Personally, I love the wiggle tails because even with a little bit of action, it's still going to have this beautiful action when it's coming through the water, which is going to attract the fish. And going through the color of the soft plastics, it's similar to any hard body lure that you use. If you're fishing a little murky water, probably go with some bright colors, something like this, or this would work good on a murky water. When the water is clear, you can go for a little bit lighter colors of this, or a white, or any of the lighter colors. So darker waters, darker soft plastics, lighter color, more lighter and natural colored soft plastics.